All right. And we are back. Episode 5, Ruse Radar podcast, the number one for your Socceroos needs. My name's Grant. I'll be hosting again. So this one's going to blow up again like the last one I hosted did, but that's besides the point. Shout out to Ollie, who usually carries it okay. But Ollie, how are you?
Fantastic. And thank you for putting me down uh, in your first sentence on the pod.
No worries, mate. So basically, we'll get a little rundown of what we're going to go through. Obviously, the Roos had a pretty good win. What was it, Friday night? So we'll go through all the meat and bones of that, little post-match review, including the standouts that we found. So that's going to be some chat off the dome, I think, and our kind of natural reactions. We're going to go through a little kit review. Basically, go through the new kits that dropped. I think they came out Wednesday, perhaps maybe even Tuesday. So they were pretty excited, or we was excited. Sorry, we were waiting for that for quite a while. So it's good that they actually came out, and we're pretty happy with them. Matter of fact, Ollie has one on today. Ollie.
Yes, I do. We're going to dive into it a little deeper after the Cameroon review. But first impressions, I like it. I like it. It's traditional, it's Aussie. So yeah, you can't really go wrong with the green and gold.
I agree. And I suppose on that topic, we'll do a little kit check for myself since Ollie asked. We are rocking the 92-94 Blackburn Rovers. Pretty clean, pretty simple. Another little old classic throwback for you.
Classy as
Now,
usual.
yep, yep. We also will cover a Curacao preview for Tuesday night. So that's tomorrow night at the time of filming. Another thing to look forward to for the boys. I think it'll be a different kind of a game to test out a few different things as well. So yeah, without further ado, we'll go on to the Cameroon review. Ollie.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a freezing cold, windy night in Sydney at a core stadium, but we braved the conditions, got ourselves out there. GB was a little bit under the weather, but still had a good time from what I can tell. We were supposed to we were supposed to be sitting behind the goals, but Grant managed to get us some really nice tickets and the padded seats, almost on halfway with all the high society people. You know, there were people opening doors for us. You know, you can buy all sorts of things in those areas. It was really nice. So we had a good view of the game, and there's some high quality analysis coming your way as a result. Um, but first thing we'll just touch on quickly is who actually lined up and started for both teams. All right, so we'll start with Australia, which I'm going to throw up on screen now. It was a familiar formation, obviously. So you've got the three at the back there with the two wing backs. You had the two in the midfield, and then the front three there. So the main kind of um, significant addition was Lucas Harrington, who I wasn't really expecting to be thrown in so quickly, but obviously we're going to get onto him. But he was fantastic. Got player of the match as well. You had Jason Guerrier in there, who usually isn't a starter, but you know I'm expecting it's just a minutes thing for some of the other players. Obviously, Matty Ryan in goal. You had Geordie on the left and Italiano on the right, and it looks like those positions are just going to be locked in for the foreseeable future with those guys. Without Jackson Irvine, that opened the space for someone. So Connor Metcalf actually played in the central position there. Usually we see him on the wing for us. That was interesting. Obviously, Aidan O'Neill was uh, was the other midfielder there, and then up top you had Riley McGree on the left, who again is more of a central player, but we have seen him on the wings for us. Had Martin Ball on the right, and then you had Denny Urich was the newer face up front. He was that striker. Um, that was kind of the lineup for Australia. The obvious omission was Aaron Kunda, but he obviously did come on later in the game, which we'll get on to. Um, and then in terms of Cameroon, I mean, their formation was pretty much the same. Um, the danger man up top was Kafane, and obviously he didn't impress too much. Like he was kept very quiet by our defense, and that was most positive thing of the game, I think, was our resoluteness in defense. Um, but yeah, as a result of that formation, it was kind of a man-to-man situation, and I think we matched up pretty well physically. But obviously, the big omission was Brian Mbuemo that pulled out of the squad after being subbed off in a United game, and didn't make the trip over. If the shoe was on the other foot, and if it was a Socceroo, um, I'm sure they would have. Let's not actually mention Jackson Irvine and Sutar in regards to that point. Just completely ignore that. Um, yeah, so it was a very inexperienced squad. So no player other than Mbuemo, named in the initial squad, had more than 15 caps for Cameroon. Um, yeah, so an interesting little stat there. But yeah, that was the lineup. Nothing crazy there. But GB, you just want to start off with a little synopsis of what happened in the game, just to give the people,
Mm,
in case they didn't watch, a really quick and brief overview of the major events of the game.
mm. So I think from the start, the first couple of minutes, we started really quick. I thought we looked to win the ball pretty far up the pitch and try and be more proactive with it. We did resort to a few long balls, but the long balls were actually working for the first couple of minutes. We had Italiano put into space on the right in the first 1 or 2 minutes due to another long ball. So the start was really proactive, and I thought it was aggressive enough to try and get us on the front foot, which was exciting. I thought it was different. We tend to be the kind of reliant on defense and not put too much pressure on the opposition. But I did like that aggressive start. But then as the half went on, it kind of tended to go back that way, more defensive kind of set up and not looking to win the ball too high, not looking to put too many forward passes through, resorting to that long ball, trying to kind of scramble and get a second ball higher up the pitch, I guess. They were pretty wasteful with little passes here and there and trying to force passes that weren't really going on. And yeah, so we kind of reverted back to how we've been playing lately. But apart from the last couple of fixtures, it's been working, so that's fine. We were defensively safe for basically the whole game. I don't think off the top of my head, I don't think that we can recount too many chances that Cameroon had that were clear cut. Maybe a couple of shots here and there outside the box or something like that, but no clear cut chances. Even from set pieces, I thought we were very composed, very strong, looking to win the ball and get it out of there. So I thought that was another highlight. Obviously, talking about defense, you can't go without mentioning Lucas Harrington, who I thought was probably standout of the game for me, apart from maybe the goal scorer or Italiano on the other side. But Harrington with his first cap didn't really look overawed at all. Then you wouldn't be able to tell that he was like inexperienced at all. So that was really, really exciting and probably unexpected for many Socceroos fans. I think Matty Ryan only had one save to make, which was obviously pretty easy. So he wasn't troubled at all. The back line, like I said, relatively unscathed, which is it's almost perfect for the first half. Second half, different story. So we had most of the momentum in the second half, which was exciting to see. It was a little bit of a switch up with us looking to get on the ball more, looking to pressure them more again, like the start of the first half. And looking to be more proactive and trying to find passes further up the pitch and look for the pace up top. So we had Aaron Kunda and Owen Mobile come on at the start of the second half, which added a little bit of pace and a little bit of threat up top, which I think we desperately needed coming off the start that we had. And I thought, yeah, the second half was kind of a show of different intent. Like the midfielders actually looked to kind of receive the ball and turn and try and find a pass that was further up ahead. And we didn't really see that too much in the first half. So I think there was obviously a little bit of a tactic switch at halftime, which again, I am more of a fan of because I think that we are resolute enough in defense to be able to trust that and try and move forward at this point. So yeah, again, Cameroon I wouldn't say an easy opponent, but they provided enough resistance that I think it was a good test for us. But yeah, come back to the 68th minute. Ollie, what happened in the 68th minute?
Yeah, so in the 68th minute, we were building some pressure, um, which I do want to show um, you a little something in regards to that. You can see here the momentum chart for the game.
Oh,
And as we spoke
huh,
about, we started very well, but then that first period or that kind of middle period of the first half, Cameroon really uh, took the game by the
yeah,
scruff of the neck there, and then we kind of came back in that second half with yeah, like you said, more of those um, uh, forwards, moving turns and passes, rather than moving and passing laterally all the time. Um, yeah, so that kind of brought us to the 68th minute where the pressure was definitely building. Pretty much we won the ball in the halfway. It was a good 1-2 between Irankunda and Hustic. And then the ball was kind of pinged out to Mabil, who played in Italiano on the right. He then crossed in looking for Nkunda, but he was just too short. Ball was a little bit too high for Nkunda. So O'Neill comes to collect the ball at the far post and is tripped. Initially wasn't called by the referee, useless.
who knows why?
Um,
Who knows why?
I mean,
It was clear
disgraceful
cut.
refereeing there. It was a clear cut penalty. Pretty much just gets tripped, gets a toe on the ball, um, gets tripped, and that's exactly what you need to do in that situation. So it's a good penalty. Um, Obviously, unfortunately, the penalty was saved by Hrustic. Um, so it wasn't the worst penalty in the world, it was down low and to the right, but it just obviously the keeper gets the right way. And
Yeah,
if they do guess the right way, the ball has to be, you know, either up high where the spiders live, or it has to be down low, right next to the post, side netting, to beat, a keeper of international quality. So it
yeah,
was
for
saved.
sure.
But Burgess soon after probably should have scored a header as well, which came after a cross. Aaron Kunda took on his man 1v1, which we're so used to seeing, crossed it to the back stick. I can't remember who headed it into Burgess, but they headed it back around the 6 yard box. Burgess probably should have scored. But not to worry, because in the 82nd, after some more substitutions, we saw the ball in the back of the net. Ocon Angster. I can never pronounce his name properly. I'm just going to say Ocon from
Any
now.
danger, you reckon?
Yeah, I'm just going to say Ocon. But yeah, he receives the ball, and as we said, had come on and was looking to be much more ambitious with the ball and also with his forward passes. Um,
Yeah.
Not going to lie, passes the ball looking for a different player. To be honest, it's missed by Cameroon, and then Jordy Boss gets in behind with a simple one-on-one finish. But yeah, that was kind of the synopsis, I guess, of the game. Um, but yeah, I think like this opens up an opportunity for a little bit of a debate, I guess you could say. But the game overall, it wasn't particularly pretty, but in the end, we got the result. So, and it's something we've come to know under Popovich. And the game that comes to mind is the Japan game where we actually qualified through Aziz Bayich. We were under the pump the whole game, but as you said earlier, our defensive reliability meant we were able to withstand any real pressure from Cameroon, and then we managed to snag one there. The result
Yeah.
on the score sheet could have been a lot more flattering had Aaron Kudo maybe have scored another, and Burgess have scored. Um, but yeah, what do you think, Grant? Is that something that we should just be getting used to, those low scoring kind of win it at the end matches, make sure we're defensively strong, or should we be looking to, play total football, attacking football, exciting football? What do you reckon?
I think it's a good question, and I think it needs context. And so, Popper takes over with the team doing pretty poorly, and obviously, the first thing you kind of need to shore up is your defense to make sure that you can actually stay in games. And I think that at this point, we are doing so. Like even though we lost a couple games previously, specifically probably the one against Colombia, which was 3-0, I think. But we were it was 0-0 for 75 minutes or something like that. So they got a couple right at the end. So that shows you that we're defensively like switched on. And obviously for that little blip of 15 minutes, I think that the defense has been shored up enough to kind of give us the freedom to move forward. So I'd prefer if we took the shackles off a little bit. I'd prefer probably. Yeah, it's hard because I would like to see us kind of move away from the five back. If not in the next couple of games, maybe in the next couple of years. I think, with Nesta up top and Mo Toure up top, and a couple other exciting names, Alex Robertson, who didn't even get any time on Friday. I think that there is enough going forward to actually pose a few questions of the opposition defenses, and not have us rely so heavily on kind of nicking a goal at the end. So I think that comes with a little bit of bravery from the midfield and trying to look up and play some progressive passes. But I think right now, where we are and still kind of giving out caps and still kind of giving young kids some minutes and trying to share around the experience within the squad, I think we kind of just get used to it for now, for at least for the foreseeable World Cup kind of window. I think it's a results business right now, and I think that like he's doing okay in terms of results right now. So for the World Cup, perhaps not looking to change too much and kind of looking to play defensively to snag a result. But in the future, I definitely think there's some space to grow. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think like you said, he originally came in um, to kind of shore things up, um, settle the whole situation through qualifying a little bit. And yeah,
Hmm.
obviously you do that by making sure your defense is top tier. So that's what he did. Um, I think, yeah, definitely for this World Cup, it's obviously too late to change anything. This is the way we're going to play, and I'm happy to accept that because at the end of the day, we got the win. Even though it wasn't the most pretty game, we got the win. And we had done that a lot through qualifying as well. And at the end of the day, all that people care about is the result on the score sheet. Um, Obviously, like the challenge will be against the better sides, which we have seen recently against US, Canada, Colombia, Venezuela, which we didn't have as much success against. Um, can we survive using our defense against those teams? Yes, definitely. But can we do enough to snag a goal or two um, with you can argue, less firepower going forward because of the formation and tactics? I would
Yeah.
say, yeah, I'd be less confident in that. But once again, Pop is the man. Um, Certainly there's a level of trust there, and I think the players definitely have to have trust in the coach. And I think defensively you can see that trust there. The trust in the process. Um, but yeah, I think just quickly on some statistics. 56% possession. We had two big chances, one of which was missed. We had 8 shots, 4 on target, and they were 7 and 1. We had 14 touches in the opposition box, 7 for them. And we had almost 500 passes to their 377. So, it goes to show that despite this conversation that we're having, we were superior both defensively and in attack. But yeah,
Yeah.
go on, Grant.
I did want to mention I was watching one of the post-match interviews with Ali Chicardi, and he did mention, or he got asked, I should say, that if it's the kind of game plan that Popper runs to kind of stay in a game and kind of nick a result right at the end with a late goal, and he wasn't too much of a fan of that question and suggested that he'd much prefer to score goals earlier and win games earlier and not have to play such a tough match. So perhaps the quick start that we saw was kind of a little attempt to kind of reduce the strain at the end of the game and try and nab a goal early, and kind of play it like that. And obviously it didn't quite work, but I suppose his opinion there showed that they're not actually succumbed to that kind of approach. and they do want to score goals earlier, obviously. But yeah, I thought it's worth mentioning as well.
Yeah, okay, lovely. But yeah, like you said, I definitely like the start. There are a couple of long balls into Italiano on the right, who I thought was friggin' fantastic. Didn't put a foot wrong. Yeah, that very first chance, he gets put through on a long ball, looks for Denny Juric in the middle, um, you know, and if Denny Juric scores that and it wasn't intercepted by the defender, then we're all looking at Denny Juric saying, wow, he could be something. Um, and you saw that a couple of times early on from Italiano as well. He took one down on the chest, I believe, a long ball, which kind of knocked it past the defender, and then the keeper kind of smothered. So he almost had another opportunity there. And it goes back to what we were saying last week. Um, that hat trick that he recently had, like a huge confidence booster
Yeah.
for him. But what did you think of Italiano overall?
Like you said, I don't think he really put a foot wrong. I thought perhaps the only thing that I could have said about the wingbacks was that they did lose the ball a couple of times pretty far up the pitch, and in my opinion, they didn't look to kind of get back as quickly as I would have thought they would have, and kind of more or less went to a ball watch kind of mode. But apart from that, literally had nothing to complain about. I thought that Italiano was good with and without the ball. He didn't look overawed at all. I think that might have been his third or fourth cap. So still like relatively new to the environment, but didn't look out of place at all. Obviously, we'll be missing Lewis Miller and all of his experience, but next man up mentality, and he is a perfect example of that because he's taken it and he's running with it right now. So I think, like you said earlier, he's probably one of the lock positions so far. So you couldn't really ask for much out of the backup right back at the moment. So I think he was great.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I mean, especially with Frank Karacic having to leave camp again through injury.
Mm,
Um, Kai Rolls came in for his spot, but Italiano was eventually replaced by Kai Truan, who was playing out of position. So
yeah.
very unfortunate for Kravcic. Um, I would have been, yeah, actually super keen to have seen him play because, yeah, we need to see another option there because if
Mm,
Italiano goes down, God forbid, could be in some trouble there. Um,
touch wood. Touch wood.
yeah, but another positive, I mean, it's more than positive, was Lucas Harrington. He was, he was
Outstanding.
just he was obviously very good defensively. He didn't have to do too much, I would say, in terms of,
Yeah.
one-on-one situations. There were fairly simple clearances and that sort of thing. But the most impressive thing was definitely on the ball. Um, you wouldn't have known it was his first cap. Obviously, he's
Yeah.
ginormous, so we picked that straight away when we saw him in real life. But how composed he is on the ball, it's just incredible. I mean, some of the passes he was receiving, he was put under the pump deep into the corner there. Honestly, I can only remember him messing up one pass, and that was because he slipped over because the surface was muddy in that corner there. Um,
Yeah.
and I think the other thing I noticed was when he was making his defensive clearance headers, he was actually able to find a Socceroo teammate more often than not.
Yeah.
In fact, there was one occasion where he was a long ball had been kind of played through by Cameroon, and he was clearly going to get to the ball with his head, and he actually scans while the ball's in midair, kind of reconnects with the ball, heads it to where he was scanning, and finds the man. Um,
Hmm.
so I don't know. It was just really impressive stuff. What did you think?
Much the same. And another thing is worth noting is he's still 18 years old, and you can physically see he's still got a lot of growing to do. He still has to fill out. He doesn't really. He still looks like a kid, which is exciting because he's going to be a big thing come the next couple of years. Much like Chikati, who's pretty impressive for his age as well. But yeah, like you said, very very composed. I thought, and it was probably a perfect game, really. A game that we kind of controlled, a game that, he was able to fight off some threats. He wasn't too stressed out through the game. I thought it was probably an ideal way to get his international career started. And yeah, he fit like a glove. He was good on the ball, good with his passing. His defense was fine. Uh, really positive debut, I think.
Yeah, I think it's not like 100% confirmed that he's going to be a starter or whatever it is, but because we haven't really seen him yet in those 1v1 situations essentially, which you're
Yeah,
not going to see much of in a three-man defense with the
yeah,
wing
correct.
backs. But it would be interesting to see how he would deal with a more athletic player like a Pulisic for the US who we've got in the group stage. Or like in the 2022 World Cup against France, a player like Mbappe, how would he be able to deal with someone like that um, in terms of athleticism? So yeah, um, obviously overall
Well,
very very good. But Jordy Boss,
well,
he was the other. Sorry, go ahead.
just on that as well. I think he's in a good spot in the MLS to kind of deal with that and to get exposed to more of that. He just left the A League, and it's obviously a clear step up, probably in the MLS, at least with the opposition that you're facing. So I think again that is a perfect little environment for him. Facing the likes of, perhaps Messi. He might have to deal with Messi in the next couple of weeks. Who knows? And I think that can only be a good thing for us. So yeah.
Yeah, the other positive was Jordy Boss. I mean, he ended up with a goal in the end, which I think he deserved. But as I always say with this guy, it's just raw athleticism, pace, speed. Um, if he gets into a 1v1 situation, you back him to beat his man and, be able to whip in across or whatever it is every time. Obviously, a very composed finish at the end there. But the fact that he's actually, pushing the envelope, getting so high up into the attack in that situation shows how confident he is in our defense as well. That those guys back there are going to be able to scramble without him there. Yeah, classy stuff from Geordie Boss.
I think it's also pretty telling that for the goal, he was the most far forward player on the pitch for us. At left wing back. So it definitely does show that he's willing to get forward and he's willing to be a threat with the ball. Which, like we were saying before, we might struggle for goals here and there against certain opponents, and if we got people from the back contributing, I think that's what more can you ask for, really?
Yeah. Moving on, I think Ocon, he actually came on and things seemed to move a little quicker. Our transitions were a little bit quicker. He looked to be more progressive with the ball, you know, take those risks, take those gambles a little bit more, um, which I guess is what you do when you come on as a substitute and you're trying to prove yourself anyway. But yeah, just look to
Yeah.
turn the ball, um, looks for forward passes rather than, playing as passive and as lateral as perhaps we did in the first half. And obviously he was the one who threaded in Geordie Boss. You could say it was meant for someone else, but he's looking for those progressive passes, which is the main thing. Um,
Mm.
GB, what were your thoughts on Ocon?
I was actually quite impressed with how he came on, and I thought he turned the game again. So he didn't come on right at the start of the second half, but I thought if you had that little momentum tracker again, I think we kind of dipped somewhere through the middle of the second half, and then kind of around the time that he came on, we kind of peaked again. I thought he came on and looked a real physical presence through the midfield, along with I think Yazbek came on at the same time, perhaps if I'm correct. And that they both kind of looked very physical, and I was actually impressed with that. I thought the midfield changes looked nice and physical, and they didn't want to give Cameroon an inch, which is what we need. I think we need a little bit of mongrel as well, playing the way that we do. And I thought, like you said, he was looking to get forward more, which was something that we lacked in the first half. So he come on and was more of a physical presence and actually looked to move the ball further forward, further and even quicker. So again, very impressive with that. And he definitely made a shout for some more minutes, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And touching on Yazbek, I mean, the guy takes on
Mm,
Messi in the MLS and sends him
mm.
home, from what I understand. Um, so yeah, Yazbek was another little positive I thought. But like you said, he's kind of a big presence on the field. I like him. I like him a lot. But
Yeah.
Nestori Kunda, he came on centrally, um, which is what Popovich had hinted at in one of the press conferences before the March window. But I don't know. For me, he comes on playing centrally out of position, and you compare how many touches even to what Denny Juric had. You can remember all of those incredible things that Aaron Kunda did. Um, he checked in deep to receive the ball plenty of times, and then spread the ball out. A few occasions, the long ball worked as well. He was caught offside once or twice, but was able to take the ball down well. And he probably should have had a goal. He had a left-footed shot on the left side there, which was a good save by the keeper. And then he kind of snatched at a right-footed shot on the left side of the goal there as well. But we also saw him in his more familiar position at times on the right side. We saw him take on a player one-on-one, was able to whip in a nice cross, and that was that Burgess chance that we didn't quite capitalize on. But I thought he was excellent, Grant.
Yeah, well, I can remember. I think he was on for only a couple of minutes, and I remember looking at you and AD only after a couple of minutes and saying this is exactly what we need, and he needs to be starting because he is just a threat everywhere on that pitch. I think he is so much of a threat that he kind of draws the attention of the attackers even when nothing is going on. And I know you weren't a fan, perhaps, of him playing through the middle, but I actually thought it was I thought it was quite. Um, Kind of creative for the way that we play because like I said to you on the night, I thought we were pretty slow in trying to launch counterattacks or try and, get forward. I thought we didn't really have much attacking threat or pace up front in the first half. And when he come on, especially through the middle, I thought there was an outball opportunity quite often for him to get in behind or to, maybe play a couple passes and get him through behind. Um, because yeah, dribbling threat, pace threat, finishing threat. Um, I thought, yeah, he definitely showed why he needs to be in the starting team and how important he is to this squad. Um, but yeah, and actually, I was quite impressed towards the end as well. He was getting back in defense as well, which is probably something that I hadn't expected. But he was putting in a shift towards the end to keep that clean sheet, so I was impressed with that as well.
And that's what we do. That's what the Socceroos do. We
Mm,
put in the shift. But yeah,
absolutely.
I'm sure we were all pooing our pants at the end there when he went down after that tackle. And he was down for a while. I just can't even imagine what I'd be feeling if he kind of suffered a serious injury. He took the free kick as well, dipped it over the wall nicely. I don't know how the hell he does that, but anyway, that's enough of him. He gets if there was a Socceroos Star of the Week, he'd be close. But we're not quite going to do that this week. But obviously, lots to like, Grant. Individual performances, the team as a whole. But a couple of things we perhaps didn't like as much. Danny Juric, as we said, started the game at the striker position. You didn't really notice him much. Couple of big touches in there, although he didn't receive much service at all. And like I said, he could have scored that goal in the first 5 minutes from that Italiano cross had it not been intercepted, and I probably wouldn't be saying any of this. So, GB, what are your thoughts?
It's funny because when I was thinking about the game and what we could talk about, I couldn't really picture a moment that I remember Danny Juric doing anything spectacular or contributing. And that's not to say that he's not good or he didn't deserve his cap or whatever, but I just thought it was a quiet night for him. And I'm pretty sure I might be incorrect, or you might be incorrect. Who knows? But I think it was Marty Boyle trying to get on the end of that cross in the first couple of minutes,
Okay,
which
I could be very wrong. I could be very wrong. So
which
apologies for
if you
that.
are wrong is a little bit more of a a disappointing night that the striker up front wasn't the one looking to tap the ball in the 6 yard. Yeah, much the same as Marty Ball, to be fair, whilst we're on the topic. Didn't really notice him that much in the first half either. So I think they both would probably be longing for some better performances in the lead up to the World Cup, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would agree. But I think like one of the other things, at least this is kind of more of a concern from me, I guess, but is playing players out of position. Um, Obviously, like we know Rustic, Metcalf, and McGree, like we know they can play on the wing, but those three players, Rustic exclusively plays centrally at his club, and has done for a while. McGree is mostly the same. You'll usually see him for Middlesbrough on the left side of the midfield, but still in that central position. Um, and he will occasionally play on the left mid or the left wing. But once again, I think he's more suited to that central role. And then Metcalf as well, he played centrally this game, but more often than not, he's a central player at St. Pauli and not on the wing. And I think those three players there, their games are built around the technical ability, right? Which is what you need in the midfield. So they're less, their game is less built around their athleticism, their pace, their speed, which is why I think they're probably less suited to being on the wing. So because you've got all of these incredible options in the midfield, is it worth tweaking things a little bit and going from a two-man midfield to a three? So that would mean an extra man in the midfield that you can fit in, which would essentially allow a player like McGree or Hrustic to be played in their preferred position, who I think McGree is a shoo-in and should be in that role. But it would also allow for the two strikers instead of wingers, which at the moment you think about the winger options. Who are the winger options? Recently it's been Goodwin who's injured. Sam Silvera on the right, he's been out of the Middlesbrough squad completely for a while. Obviously you've got Nesta, but other than that, Cassini Yengi, he was also injured. So there aren't very many out and out wingers at the moment. So once again, that kind of leads me in the direction of playing with the two men up top. In my eyes, it's Toure and it's Aaron Kunda. Can Aaron Kunda kind of feed off Toure, feed off the scraps around him? Toure is a bigger body. He receives a long ball, takes it down, looks for Aaron Kunda in behind. But, in saying that with the two up top, that also doesn't mean that necessarily can't shift wide occasionally and kind of take on the fullback in a one-on-one situation on the wing. So it's not
Yeah.
like he's, being confined to this two striker position. He can always drift. So yeah, I don't know. I think perhaps based on the player profiles we have, perhaps a three-man in the midfield is better instead of the two, and then obviously vice versa up top.
I definitely agree with that because, like we spoke about on the night, I think in the Cameroon game in particular, it was a perfect example. I think we were kind of overrun in that midfield, especially in that first half. We definitely outnumbered. I remember points in which, our two midfielders were getting closed down from all areas by like four players. So, yeah, I suppose in that sense, if you can pick the passes and someone's technical enough and you can get through that little press, then you're sweet. But on the night, I don't think we were that, and I think we struggled. That's the part of the game where we really struggled and couldn't really get a foothold in, couldn't build any momentum, and that was, I think, due to the midfield being outnumbered. And I think, like you're saying, well, like we mentioned, with the numbers up top that we thought didn't really have any influence in the game. I suppose if you take one of those off and chuck a midfielder into the mix of it, I think it balances the team a lot more. And I suppose, like you said as well, if we go two up top, I think that frees up the wing backs from not crowding around the wingers at the top of the pitch as well. It gives them a bit more space to move and a bit more space to explore. And so, like you said, I think currently there's plenty of midfield options, but maybe less so, potent attacking options. So that's probably something you and I thought about that would probably suit the team better is playing another midfielder and maybe uh less of a wide option up top. Maybe those two through the middle. But yeah, like you said, not the biggest fan of playing players out of position for the national side.
Yeah, I think that the other thing was obviously the penalty. Um, we don't really have, at least in my mind, we don't really have a lockdown, calm as you like penalty taker. Um, Hrustic obviously doesn't start games as well. He's not like always on the field. So he
True.
obviously eventually took it. But we're kind of missing that Mila Jedinak type of player, Mark Milligan
Mm,
type of player,
yeah.
who can take those penalties and you just know he's gonna put it in the back of the net pretty much.
Well, mind you, on that topic, we did have a certain fella on the pitch at the moment, or at the time, I should say, who did bury a penalty in the days leading up to it. So perhaps that could have been another option, referring, of course, to Italiano. Um, but it's in the past. We move.
In the past. All right.
We move.
But yeah, I think overall, we take the result. Absolutely. Still very confident in our boys that they can get the job done against the better sides, including Curacao, who we will get onto shortly. But before we do that,
Mm,
Grant, like we said at the
mm.
start of the pod, I am wearing the new kit. I got I think they call it the stadium version. So the more expensive version is about 190 for the
Whoa,
Rebel.
whoa, whoa. Must be nice, huh? Must be
I know,
very
must be very
nice.
nice. Must be very nice. You also did get one, by the way. But yeah, a
Whoa.
little bit exy. But I thought I'd go for the more expensive one. I haven't bought a kit in a while. Overall thoughts, I think, as I said at the start of the pod, green and gold, you can't really go wrong. I think, it's typical of Nike to use this more template kind of style. But I do like how they've kind of thrown it back a little bit to '06. Kind of the white piping I really like. The trim on the inside I really like, which I do think, I wish the green trim on the inside was a little bit more prominent, and same as the white piping. I wish that white piping came down on the front as well. And also, I like how they sometimes will do a central badge placement or a central manufacturer, whatever it is. I do like that as well. Um, I think the kind of reflective badge is a nice touch. I do quite like that. Um, but one of the main things when you put it on is how light it is and how thin it is. It's super, super comfortable. But overall, my thoughts are quite positive. Um, GB, what do you reckon?
Similar to you, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. It's very, very basic. It's very plain, but you can see the hints of the '05 kind of shirt, and I think that's a positive. I did like the center number placement, by the way, on the boys' kits. That was clean. Did like that. Like you said, I would have. I think the white piping kind of stops too towards the armpit. I think that could have gone further and give it a little bit more pizzazz, if you will. But yeah, it's a simple shirt and it's clean, so I'm happy. I'm overall happy. I'm much happier than if we went into the World Cup with the last atrocity that they were wearing 2 weeks ago. I thought that was a disgrace, just quietly. But yeah, we're happy. We're happy with that. Not to mention the away kit. The jury's still out.
We
Uh,
will be touching on that next week, perhaps, with a more
yeah,
in-depth review. But yeah,
yeah,
mixed emotions on that. But I think like similar to the home kit, it's always going to look better in full kit, and actually, out in the field, like in real life. Like it's obviously difficult to see, all the details like over or through a screen.
very
But I
true.
think like the home kit, the green shorts, the white socks. I mean, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with
Yeah.
that. Um,
And there was a little green gradient on the shorts too, which was pretty clean, I thought.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's pretty clean as well. Pretty clean.
Mm.
Um, yeah. overall, the kind of mission to wreck marketing campaign was an interesting one. I don't know, mission to wreck is kind of funny. It sounds like something 14-year-old gamer would say or something like that.
It's very American, isn't it? It's rooted in
Yeah,
American. You can
yeah, a little
tell.
bit of American kind of Yankee vibe. Um, but yeah, I think like the promo they did with Nesta and all that sort of thing, I thought was pretty cool. Lots of
Mm.
little Easter eggs in that video they released. Um, yeah, so I think overall pretty positive vibes. I'm fairly happy with the kit that we're going to um, into the World Cup with. But as we know, Grant, kits become uh, so much more lovable when you do something fantastic in those kits.
So much more. Like picture this. You got the Matthew Leckie goal. Scrub
hmm
out the 2022 shirt, right? And replace it
hmm
with the last one that we had. It just
Oh,
sorry, it just ruins it.
no, don't apologize,
It
mate.
ruins it.
Do not
It absolutely
apologize.
ruins it.
What I want you to do now, Grant, for me is just close your eyes and just imagine,
Mm.
right? Just imagine this. We get out of the group, we get to the round of 32 or 16 or whatever it is. We score a goal in the last minute through Alassane Toure, a header off a
Hmm.
cross from Nesta. He celebrates in the corner, takes the kit off by John Aloisi in '06, gives it the full celebration to the corner flag. Something like that. It's a moment like that. Perhaps in the round of 16 to get to a quarter final for the first time. A moment like that would make this kit, the best kit ever made of all time. So that's what we've got to keep in mind,
Correct.
I think.
An instant nostalgia. Think about that.
Instant nostalgia. You're exactly right. But enough of our fantasizing, Grant. We're going to get on to the Curacao preview. Um, this is on Tuesday night in Amy Park in Melbourne. Hopefully, weather's all right down there. Obviously, we know how Melbourne can be, um, sunny 1 hour, rainy the next, but we'll see how we go. But Curacao is an interesting game. They're an island country in the South Caribbean. I honestly couldn't have even told you that this place existed prior to us
Respectfully.
drawing them in the World Cup, respectfully.
Respectfully.
Their land mass totals 171 square miles. They're heading to the World Cup for the first time, and it's the smallest population of any nation in history to qualify. Their population is just
Pretty cool.
156,000. Now,
Pretty
that kind
cool.
of gives me throwback vibes to Iceland back in the Euros, back in the day. Um,
Mm.
Though obviously they have a very small population. Do I think that Curacao are going to do anything like Iceland? Definitely not. Um, but yeah, very interesting stuff. They had a um, interesting qualification to get into the World Cup. They topped their qualification group, or the last round of qualification, I should say, with 3 wins and 3 draws, leading from Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, and I think Bermuda
Mm.
was the other one. Interesting names going around there. Um, can't say they're, particularly representative of footballing nations, but I digress.
Mm. Mm.
Um, Again, the only recognizable name in their team was Tahith Chong, which you might remember. He was kind of a Manchester United Academy guy, big afro. Um, he's currently at Sheffield United, and there's no real other players in top leagues. You've got one bloke at PSV, but I don't even think he got selected in the squad. Um, yeah, but their formation and style, they kind of, usually play a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. So they've got the four back there. Hopefully that'll allow and give Jordy Boss and Italiano some freedom to roam up on the wings there. Um, GB, what are you expecting from this game, you reckon?
I want us to try and take the scruff of the game, or the game by the scruff of the neck, I should say, and try and look to see what we can do with the ball. I think obviously don't want it to take too much for granted in terms of the opposition, but try and push the envelope a little bit harder. I think I would like to see Robertson play If not from the start, I'd like to see him get a bunch of minutes because I think he is someone of real promise. And I know we were both disappointed that he didn't get any minutes on Friday. We were really, really looking out for that. But yeah, another one is Yazbek. I think we both are on the same page with those two boys. I think we want to see them get plenty of minutes come Curacao on Tuesday. But yeah, I think we just need to build off what we did on Friday, and try and look to score a few more goals to kind of build some confidence and momentum coming into June.
Yeah, I think I would like to see a little bit of Suto as well. Ante Suto up top, can he kind of take Denny Juric's um, lesser performance, I would say? Can he kind of make the most of that and ideally cement a spot for himself, perhaps? Um, I think, as I mentioned earlier, perhaps, I'd like to see McGree or Hrustic in a more central role, see what they can do there. I think that's definitely another one. But yeah, I mean, overall, like, I think I'm predicting a pretty comfortable win here. They lost
Yeah,
to
me too.
China 2-0 a couple of hours before our game against Cameroon. And, historically, we've been very comfortable against a team like China. Um, yeah, we should be winning this game by, I'm going to guess, 3-0. We definitely shouldn't concede. And I want to say 3-0 is my prediction.
Hmm.
Give me what's yours.
I, without trying to sound too repetitive, I think 3-0 is also what I would be hoping for. Like you said, I feel like we shouldn't be conceding, and trying to look to get on the front foot more and score a few more goals that we did. So yeah, I'd say 3-0 as well.
All right. GB, do you want to?
Hang on,
Yeah,
hold on.
sorry.
I've got something else to mention
Hmm.
actually. Before we finish or before we wrap up, we'll talk about something else. The another exciting thing that I think is worth mentioning is that there are a number of players in this squad that are under 24 or 24 and under, which I think is. I think I mentioned it a few weeks ago that I feel we're bordering on another golden generation. It's obviously too early to say, but
Words there from
when
GB.
just hear me out, right? Harrington, Chicardi, Robertson, Ocon, Yazbek, Irankunda, Toure, Overy, Overy hasn't even cracked the squad yet, and Ballard, all under 24. Now, all of those players, I think bar one, have all had a cap already, and in a couple cases, they've had many. So I think this is like it's an exciting core group to move towards the next couple World Cups with. So I think with that in the back of your mind, and having the experience of a Matty Ryan or a Milos Steganek or Metcalf, I think he would have had plenty of caps at this point as well. I think that there is a really good mix coming in terms of experience and youth at the moment. So I think that's exciting.
All right, don't get me too excited, Grant. I'll be
Mm.
sitting here all day dreaming about um, potential success in the future. But GB, take us out. Fantastic job on hosting today.
It's been an honor. Obviously, Russell to back off you for a little bit. He didn't give it up easily, but I thought for the good of the pod and to give the people what they want, would go back to yours truly. But yeah, what to look forward to for next week? I think we'll go through the post match of Curacao. Hopefully, we'll be gassing up a big win for the boys and a pretty comprehensive and solid performance. We might go back to the Socceroos Star of the Week, which we kind of glossed over a little bit this week. I think we'll touch on the away kit for next week. Pretty important coming into this World Cup to look nice. And on the topic, 76 days out. So that is,
76 days out until the World Cup, Grant. If that doesn't get the
yeah.
people at home excited, I don't know what will. I do not know what
Well,
will.
think about we launched on 100 days out, so it's already been 24 days since then, and
Time
the
fast.
next 76 are gonna fly. They will absolutely
My
fly.
goodness. Time
And
flies when you're having fun.
in our little realm as well. This is all we care about. Club footy is done for us, basically. Who cares about club footy anyway? You know, after this international window, what we'll be doing? Twiddling our thumbs, probably. Who knows?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Alrighty. Well, unless you have anything to add, buddy.
Don't call me buddy. Don't call me champ. Don't call me champion. I don't have anything to add.
All right. Well, on that, we'll sign off for this week. We'll catch you all next week.
Shout out to Smarter. Catch you next week.